travel isn't just about destinations, it's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
So I've been asking you about this impasse surrounding the burial of the former Zambian president, Edgar Lungu. How much attention have you been paying to this impasse? You may remember the Gauteng High Court last week ordering that the burial of former President Lungu be halted pending a court application filed by the Zambian government. The Zambian government wants him to be buried in Zambia. His family doesn't seem to want him buried in Zambia. In fact, from what I have observed is that they're saying if he is going to be buried there, then they wouldn't want the president to preside over the funeral. So what's really going on here? I've invited Cornelius Mweetwa, who's live to us from Lusaka in Zambia. He's the Minister of Information and Media in Zambia. Minister Mweetwa, thank you so much for speaking to us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Why has the Zambian government approached the courts to stop the burial here in South Africa?
Well, that decision was taken out by the Attorney General, who is the custodian of public interest. So it was a public interest policy position to take out that court case in order to halt the burial of the former president of Zambia, because truth be said, there is no justifiable cause really to have taken the decision that our colleagues have taken. And I can now begin to indicate to you and to your dear listeners that it is becoming apparent that the political leadership of the former ruling party has hijacked this funeral from the family, and that is the reason why even the so-called family spokesperson is a former minister in the former government who has been a lawyer to the family of the late president, including being a lawyer to the late president. So this whole matter has unnecessarily been dragged in, political deluge.
Okay. So it appears that the family doesn't want the involvement of President Hichilema in this entire process. And yes, whether it's politics from the former ruling party that's now affecting, or as you say, hijacking this from the family seems to believe that these people didn't enjoy a good relationship, former President Lungu and President Hichilema, and therefore they didn't want him to be there. So at what point as a government are you going to respect those wishes of the family?
Firstly, culturally, being African, we know that you can differ as family members. But when you have a calamity of the scale that we are now faced with, of losing one amongst your number, you put your differences aside and mourn the departed with honor, with dignity, and send them off, give them a befitting farewell, especially when you're talking about a former president. And also, I think that things must be put into perspective, that the feud between the current president, Hakainde Hichilema, and the former president has been taken out of context to portray as though the current president has, ostracized his friend. There is nothing of that sort. And we have been respectful as government and as members of a party in government who suffered untold misery at the behest of the leadership of the former president. Our president, the current president, was arrested 17 times, one of which he was charged with the offense of treason, which is non-bailable. And he was in jail for almost 4 months. This is a man who, in the midst of the official campaigns in 2021, was not allowed to use Zambia's airspace. He was once held at an airport in Chipata, in the eastern province of the Republic of Zambia, for almost 4 hours. These are the issues that have happened. Many UPND, the ruling party's members, were killed by police, shot dead in cold blood. A number of them, others stabbed to death by thugs of the former ruling party. But here is a president who, the moment he won elections, in his first speech, acceptance speech, he said, no retaliation, no terrorism, no hooliganism. I want us to open a new page.
Yeah.
We are not going to continue on this trajectory of violence. And there has been no violence, no terrorism, no bloodletting, nothing of that sort. And that is where we are today.
Yeah.
The former president, the late President Edgar Lungu, is the first former president who has left office and has gone he has passed on with his immunity, presidential immunity against legal prosecution intact. He's the only one. And this is a man who has never even received a police call out, not even appearing at police, just a call out.
Yeah.
He has never, because the current president, has taken it in stride and in national interest that we open a new page, that we cannot make it a ceremony, that each time you have a new leadership, each time you have a new president, the former president goes into jail.
Yeah, unless of course they've got crimes to answer to. But when President Lungu got sick, did the state assist with transporting him to South Africa? Because I suppose from what I've heard from the family is that those are some of the issues that they have, that when this person was sick, where was government? And now government somehow is ready to charter a plane to take his body back home. And the family seems to say you can't treat someone with such disrespect and not care when they are sick, and then you want to be all smiles with flowers at the funeral.
I can now tell you that all that which is playing out is being exaggerated to fit a particular narrative which they have been, harping at for a very long time now. Zambia's democratic space is widening, but they have been telling the international community, no, we are not allowed to assemble, all sorts of allegations. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to exemplify their force that, all hasn't been well in this country. And they are using this funeral as a political counterweight.
Was he supported, when he was sick?
When President Lungu, this particular time, was about to go into South Africa, the government of the Republic of Zambia, led by President Hakainde, made more than one offer to take him out for medicals. And he refused. This they know. And this, the Secretary to Cabinet did tell the world at a joint press conference where family members were. The issue they are trying to raise about, the president did not take him for medicals and so on. All that is falsity. Because look, the former president enjoyed certain amenities in line with former President's Benefits Act, Chapter 15 of the laws of Zambia, wherein a former president who has retired from active politics is entitled to a government house, transport, security, office staff, and medical attention, and a return air ticket to a destination of his choice around the world for a holiday once per year. Now, the moment you decide as a former president that you are going back to active politics, and active politics has been defined by the courts to mean that you are seeking elective office, you then cease to enjoy those entitlements.
Yeah. So
it is during his time when he was in active politics that then government, as by law established, could not confer to him those entitlements which they are now claiming were not given to him.
Okay, so is that the reason why then his presidential benefits were revoked? Because he had decided to re-enter politics in 2026?
He had decided to re-enter politics on 28th of October 2023, having retired from politics via a written document to the Secretary to the Cabinet, the head of the Civil Service, on the 26th August 2021. And from 26th August 2021 to 28th August 2023, he enjoyed all the amenities that the law provides, which law was promulgated and enacted in 1993. Okay,
just lastly, is the government of Zambia prepared to reach a compromise with the family? If the family says, okay, we can agree that his body comes to Zambia and he can be buried there, but we don't want President Hichilema to preside over the burial. Are you prepared to accept that compromise if the family suggests it?
Vincent, this is not a wedding. You know that if you are going to conduct a wedding, you can come up with a wish list of who you want to attend. Where in Africa have you ever seen a prescription of who should attend a funeral and who is not? Even a social in the village is tolerated at a funeral. So this whole debacle is not really, in our view, a wish that should be sustained. This is meant to embarrass the head of state. And also, if I were to ask you, if that were to be the case that the president should not attend, in the region, the former president, Edgar Lungu, had an alumni of friends that, or a collegiality of presidents that he worked with. Now, if they decide to come for his burial, for instance, who is going to host them? Because according to government procedure and protocol, anywhere in the world where President Ramaphosa, for instance, has to come for a burial. This was an example.
The state is going to host them.
Former President Lungu. Who is going to host him?
The state. The state will host them, but the president is not the state.
Now, the point which I would like you and our dear listeners to accept is that this issue is calibrated deliberately to try and ostracize the current president. And I can tell you that if President HH was like they are trying to portray him today, I don't think that things would have been the way they are, except that facts should be, let there.
Okay.
The issue here is two dynamics. One, the issue of politicians taking over. And then secondly, we understand that the children of the former president and the wife were and are appearing before the courts of law. But they do not enjoy the presidential immunity against legal prosecution that the former president enjoyed.
Yeah.
They are now turning into...
Minister, I'm out of time, but just quickly on this. If the benefits were revoked, why are you then offering a presidential funeral?
At this particular moment, we are talking about a former president who is not seeking an elective office, who is not in active politics. He is deceased and therefore is entitled, just like any other minister or former president, to a state funeral. And this is very precedented because 5 of Zambia's presidents that have passed on ahead of President Edgar Lungu, they've all been buried in the same way. There is a tradition. We have a presidential burial site. And you recall that Dr. Kaunda, the founding president of Zambia, when he died, his family, his children, they came up with a wish list. No, he said that he wants to be buried next to his wife at a farm in Chinsali in the northern province of Zambia. But the matter went into litigation and the court pronounced itself that in a matter of this nature, public interest overrides
Trump's family's interest. Yeah, Minister Cornelius Mweetwa in Zambia for us. Thank you for making time for us. He's the Zambian Minister of Information and Media. How do you slice this? Because the president, it appears, doesn't want to. Imagine Jacob Zuma, the former president, dies. God forbid. Touch wood. If he says, I don't want Cyril Ramaphosa at my funeral, do you think President Cyril Ramaphosa must just force himself there when he could maybe say, Deputy President, go and preside over there, given the complexity, the dynamics, and the wishes of the family? Zambia is not willing to do that. They want the president to speak at the funeral. But the family says, okay, fine. The compromise could be, let's bring the body there, but the president can't preside over. What's wrong with putting yourself aside to allow for the people of Zambia to still pay their last respects to a former president?